Convergent, evolution, and a regional variant and evolution in one video? You betcha! Hey trainers, welcome back! You're with PewterCityJim, and we're here to add some more pages to the Sola Pokédex. For those who are new, welcome! Sola is this channel's fan region based on Southern California and some of the surrounding areas. We got deserts, ghost towns, big cities, beautiful coastlines, and a bunch of other awesome biomes. We've got over 90 designs if you count forms and stuff. Getting close to 100 total, which is kinda neat. If any of that sounds like fun to you, I'd love it if you could do all those usual YouTube bits and pieces. Like, subscribe, and let me know your take on things in the comments. It's always appreciated. Remember, trainer, you are welcome here. So, remember last month's end of video warning to bring a hazmat suit? Gibster remembers. Well, let's go ahead and check out the reasoning for that warning. Convergent Pokemon are really cool. So far we have two lines, Wiglet and Toedscool. We have a couple of rules established by these lines too. They're both types strong against the original design. Wiglet's water washes away Diglett, for example. The names share at least one syllable with the original too. Tentacool becomes Toedscool. Simple. Lastly, while they may share aspects of their appearance, they're a completely different kind of a thing. Jellyfish versus mushroom. You can see the similarity for sure in terms of shape, but biologically these guys have almost nothing in common. So let's take those rules and make a thing. So, which Pokemon am I making a convergent of? It's Yuckle. Yuckle is one of my favorite designs. It's deceptively simple, pulling in a bunch of different design elements and wrapping them up with a goofy little face. Back before Scarlet and Violet came out, I even created concepts for Paldean regional variants that were version locked. Today, we're looking at a disastrous byproduct of the fossil revitalization project being undertaken in Siliconia. Last Sola video, we looked at the fossil Pokemon that would regenerate from either the Rainbow Skull or the Steel Skull. Oh, by the way, thanks to everyone who voted in the poll. Steel Skull won out by a fairly slim margin. Looks like our second rival is getting a Smiline on her team, but that's for another video. Anyway, recreating a life from dead matter and globs of poison tar can't be easy, right? There's gotta be some kind of industrial waste byproduct from all the shed tar. Maybe some of the chemicals used to revitalize the actual fossil get lobbed into the mix. Maybe it starts to goop around the place inside of a little petri dish and winds up getting studied? Maybe that goop gets sentience of its own? Yeah, that's exactly what's happening actually. So this little purple blob extends some tentacles out of the primordial ooze made up of discarded tar and the various chemical compounds used for fossil resurrection. I figure if Grimer and Trubbish can come to life in their goop and junk respectively, why not this little guy? Instead of leaping out of its petri dish home though, it's gonna stick to it like a snail in its shell. It can recede all the way in there and close the thing up if it wants. Unfortunately though, this means very little. Brittle plastic is a poor choice for self-defense. Unlike Yuckle, this critter lacks god-tier defenses and instead will exchange those stats for attack and special attack and have dismal everything else. I also gave him a happy little smiley face because Yuckle just sorta looks nonplussed all the time. I changed the eyes a bit just because with a darker purple, dot eyes like Yuckle's would be harder to see. And here we have Yuckle, the goop Pokemon. Yuckle were created by accident in a lab. Despite never being intended to exist, they are a very friendly Pokemon who love to give and receive affection. Unfortunately, their poisonous skin can be lethal. Abilities are Poison Touch with the hidden ability No Guard. It literally has nothing to guard its soft little body, barring that petri dish. They are a poison and water type. Here are your stats and moves. You can see the aforementioned stat spread there, and then you have a small but interesting set of moves. The challenge would be getting to use this guy's monstrous fighting abilities before getting knocked out due to terrible defenses and speed. Good luck, trainer. In terms of story, a bunch of these guys would escape a lab in Siliconia, and you'd be tasked with helping to try and catch them. But too late. They are out in the world now. You'd find them literally everywhere, but only on roadways and sidewalks. See, we have a lot of potholes. They get resealed with asphalt periodically and create these crazy patchwork-looking roads. If you see patches of roadway like that in Sola, walk over them. You might just find a Yuckle hunkered down, sleeping in a pothole blending in with the asphalt. But Jim, I hear you state, this Pokemon literally breaks the rules that you just talked about. Poison is not super effective on Bug. Well, dear viewer, you are correct, but it was not always this way. Back in the early days of Pokemon, Bug and Poison were mutually super effective on one another. So I'm working on a technicality here, I guess. I still kind of think that Poison should be super effective against Bug because, well, look at all the pesticides that we use to kill insects. From big industrial pesticides sprayed on crops to cans of bug spray and mosquito repellent for personal use. Anyway, now that we're done with Yuckle, let's talk about our regional variant for the video. Hooray! It's Trubbish! Yeah, I know. Poor Trubbish is the one that people always use as an example of Game Freak has run out of ideas, along with Vanillite. I love them both though. And here's the thing, I wanted to do a regional form for this guy for a while. It's going to be based on ocean trash. Plastic specifically. I don't know how many other places this is a thing, but here in Southern California, you have to pay an extra 10 cents to get a plastic bag when you're buying groceries. The idea is they're kind of thick plastic so you can reuse them. Take it back to the store with you next time you shop and you don't have to buy another one. This is to hopefully reduce the number of disposable plastic bags that get blown and washed out to sea, where they can be eaten by any number of wild creatures that normally feast on jellyfish. So this little guy is my interpretation of what a Trubbish might look like if it was a living trash bag but out in the ocean. A bag from some grocery store washes out to sea, gets eaten by a seafaring Pokemon who then dies. Voila! The bag suddenly finds its way back out into the water and becomes a vessel for this creature's spirit, free to roam the seas. It also has a little six-pack holder piece as an arm and a zip tie as the other arm that it uses to snag prey. Watching trash swirl in the water made me think of a light, floating, dancing kind of a movement, so I just used the plastic to imply a sort of a tutu as well. And here we have Trubbish, Solarian form. The plastic Pokemon. Trubbish and Sola are found out at sea, where they dine on almost anything that floats in the water. They will group together in colonies, drifting on the currents and searching for food. Abilities are Cursed Body and Shadow Tag, with the hidden ability Wind Rider. It's a pure ghost type. Here are your stats and moves. A fairly even stat spread, and you have a lot of ghost type moves with a few water type options thrown in as well. So, Garbodor. When thinking on the concept for Trubbish, something about it in Garbodor just didn't mesh for me. Garbodor becomes more about the trash inside the bag spilling out than the bag itself. That's a lot less feasible in a watery environment because I kind of feel like the Garbodor would just dissolve. So I decided to cobble together some junk and make a more cohesive floating blob of trash. This Trubbish evolution has a few new elements. I wanted it to have a big cape made of discarded fishing net. I also gave it fishnet eyelashes. One complaint about Garbodor is that it's ugly, so my evolution? Long eyelashes and eyelids that look like they have eyeshadow. Beauty incarnate. It retains the frilly lower body, but the feet have slimmed down. It has a range of plastic bags ringing its body, and it drops these into areas where other Pokemon regularly swim, hoping to increase the number of Trubbish infesting the waters off of Sola's coast. Not a super nice thing to do, but there you go. The six-pack holder arm is increased in length at the expense of losing its other arm. It only has the one. It catches prey with this arm and its cape. Garbodor is pretty asymmetrical, so I wanted to do something similar with this evolution. And here we have King, the plastic Pokemon. Where there is one King, it won't take long for Trubbish to fill the water nearby. It dines voraciously on plastic garbage, as well as smaller aquatic Pokemon it can snag with its net. Despite being made of junk, it has a very high level of self-confidence. Still a pure ghost type, and the abilities remain unchanged. Here are your stats and moves. Not a crazy strong mon by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it could be fun to use with a few of those entry hazards in that bulk. Trubbish would be found off the coast of Siliconia and in this area of the map. That's my version of the Great Pacific Trash Island. Sola has one of those and it becomes relevant at a later time story-wise, but Trubbish would love this place. Anyway, that's what I got for you this time, trainers. I hope you liked my trash and goop monsters. Next time we're going to be heading northeast into the woods. I have a couple of interesting mons for you there. Some may seem a bit familiar. In the meantime, trainers, looking forward to catching you in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye.